Hey, before we get into tonight's story, go ahead and tap the subscribe button. Only if you actually enjoy this kind of thing, of course. It helps the channel keep making more of these, and it means a lot. And while you're here, let me know in the comments, what time is it for you and where are you listening from? I always love seeing who's tuning in and how far we are from each other. Kind of nice to know you're not the only one lying in the dark with a story in your ears. Now, let your body sink. Really let it go. If your jaw's tight, loosen it. If your shoulders are up by your ears, drop them. You don't have to hold up the world tonight. Just breathe. In and out. You made it through the day. That's enough. The dishes can wait. The emails can rot. Right now, you're allowed to do absolutely nothing. And maybe, while you drift, I'll tell you a little bedtime story. You're about to fall asleep in the middle of a bison hunt. Yes, a real one. Congratulations, you've just opened your eyes to a pale morning sky somewhere in the heart of the Great Plains. No highways, no street signs, just wind, grass, and an endless stretch of space so big it makes your brain feel small. You're part of a nomadic hunting group. Your people have been following herds of bison across this land for as long as anyone can remember. And today, it's your turn. The good news? You're not alone. The bad news? That means you're surrounded by about 60 other people, half of them children, most of them tired, all of them hungry, including you. You've been chasing this herd for days. You haven't eaten a proper meal in... Well, let's not talk about that. Let's just say your stomach sounds like distant thunder and leave it there. You blink awake in your teepee. The air inside smells like smoke, dry hides, and sweat, and something sour that might have been last night's stew, or someone's moccasins. You can't really tell anymore. Your bedding is a tangle of buffalo robes and woven blankets, still warm but already cooling. The fire in the middle burned out hours ago. You feel it in your toes, which are, unfortunately, exposed. The wind whistles through the seams of the hide walls. Outside, the first sounds of the day are starting. Firewood being chopped, dogs barking, the sharp clatter of stone against bone as someone sharpens a spear point. You don't get a snooze button, just the gentle encouragement of cold air and hunger. You sit up, slowly. Your back cracks. You're probably 15 years old, maybe 17. But in this life, that's old enough to have already pulled an arrow from your own leg and stitched up a cousin's arm during a raid. Childhood doesn't last long out here. It can't afford to. You push aside the flap and step out into the wind. Immediately, your face stings. It's early fall, and the wind's coming from the northwest. Not the worst it could be. No snow yet, but enough to remind you that winter is closer than you'd like. You tighten your robe, worn soft from months of use. It still smells faintly of tanned bison, smoke, and the sun. You stretch your arms toward the rising sun. It's hidden behind clouds, but the light's enough. You're alive, and so are the bison. Somewhere out there, they're grazing. Your people need them. Badly. Time to start the day. You head toward the fire circle where the other hunters are gathered. You're not wearing shoes yet. Because why would you? They're stiff from the frost. You'll wait until the fire's going strong, and your fingers aren't too numb to tie the laces. Your feet crunch over the frozen grass, and you try not to slip on the half-frozen mud around the cooking pit. Someone already did this morning. You can tell by the footprint and the missing patch of dignity. You make it to the fire just in time to catch the last of the morning mush, boiled cornmeal mixed with water, bark, and a handful of dried berries that someone traded for 2 months ago. It tastes like warm paste, but at least it's warm. You eat it without complaint. Because complaining gets you one thing: less food tomorrow. A few people laugh softly around the fire. Jokes are low, quiet, the way laughter sounds when no one slept well and everyone's pretending not to be worried. Someone says the herd moved overnight. Someone else says they saw tracks leading west. The old man sitting across from you just grunts, like he already knew that in his sleep. There's no map, no written plan. The strategy lives in the hands of the elders, passed down through stories, gestures, and a whole lot of squinting at the horizon. You trust it because it's the only thing you've ever known. Once the fire has warmed your hands, you slip on your moccasins and stand. Your bow is hanging by the drying rack, and you check the sinew. Still tight. Your arrows are tucked into a hide quiver slung over your shoulder, fletched with goose feathers from the spring. One of them is a little warped, but you don't have time to fix it now. You just hope you won't have to use it. Not unless the drive goes badly. Not unless you miss your shot. The bison hunt is not a solo mission. It's a carefully choreographed disaster, performed by desperate people with sticks and hopes, and about 3 minutes of actual opportunity before everything goes wrong. You're not chasing the bison. You're driving them. See, out here in the plains, you don't run at a 1,000-pound animal and hope it turns into dinner. That's how you become lunch. Instead, your people use the land, cliffs, valleys, rivers, anything that helps narrow the herd. You build drive lines, arrange runners to panic them, and steer them right into a trap. A jump site usually. A cliff. A place where gravity finishes what your arrows can't. The problem is, the bison are smarter than they look. You gather your things. The whole group is packing up now. Women take down the teepees, lashing the poles into travois for the dogs to pull. Children carry baskets of tools, pouches of dried meat, and water skins. Everything you own fits into what you can carry or drag. There's no stuff, no closet, no storage unit, no sentimental drawer full of tangled chargers and expired lip balm, just what you need to survive. And maybe one lucky stone or feather tucked into your sash if you're feeling indulgent. The sun's higher now. The wind is still sharp, but the sky is clearing. You walk. All day. This is life on the hunt. Endless walking, eyes scanning the horizon, belly half empty, feet half blistered, and a kind of background level tension that never fully goes away. Because out here, anything can go wrong. A storm, a snake, a rival group crossing your path. You've heard stories. Everyone has. You just hope they stay stories. You chew on a strip of jerky as you walk. It's older than you'd like, a little moldy on one edge. But you scrape that part off with your teeth and keep going. You're not picky anymore. Hunger rewires your standards. It lowers the bar until the bar is underground, buried under a buffalo patty and some wishful thinking. By late afternoon, the scouts return. They saw the herd. Your heart actually lifts a little. Just a little. Enough to make you walk faster, even as your legs ache. The sun starts to dip. The grass glows gold. You smell them before you see them. The bison. You crouch in the tall grass. Your heart is pounding now. Not from fear, not yet, but from something older, something deeper. You hear them, snorting, grunting, the rhythmic stomp of hooves crushing dry earth. It sounds like distant thunder, but steadier, hungrier. You peek over the rise. There they are, massive, shaggy, and oblivious. Hundreds of them. They are bigger than you remembered, and this is just the start. The bison don't know you're here yet, and that's the only reason you're still breathing. You stay low in the grass, trying not to fidget, trying not to breathe too loud. The smell of them carries, warm, heavy, earthy, like dirt and hair and whatever plant they crushed last. You try not to think about how big they are, or what would happen if just one of them ran in the wrong direction. You've seen what a single bison can do to a tree. You are not a tree. The scouts talk in low voices. One gestures with a stick, drawing lines in the dirt. The idea is simple. Panic the herd, drive them toward the arroyo, and let the land do the killing. Easy, right? All you have to do is run faster than a stampede and not trip over a prairie dog hole. You're assigned to the left flank. You nod like you understand what that means. You mostly do. You hope it won't matter. Night comes quickly on the plains. There's no light pollution, no neon buzz, no porch lights flicking on at dusk. Just a sky that slowly melts into charcoal, then black velvet, then a galaxy full of things you'll never name. You lay under a hide blanket, eyes half open, listening to the occasional snort of a nearby dog and the breathing of your campmates. You don't sleep well. You never do before a hunt. In the early morning, the elders wake first. You hear the rustle of blankets, the low crackle of the rekindled fire, the quiet shuffling of moccasins in grass. Someone murmurs a prayer, not loud, just enough. You get up before the sun does. The air bites at your face. You put on your outer robe, sling your bow over your back, and walk toward the gathering spot with your stomach hollow and your eyes stinging. There's no coffee, no protein bar, just a scrap of smoked meat and the hope that adrenaline will do the rest. The hunters line up. Some are young, some are old. All of you are quiet, not out of reverence or fear, just focus. It's the same silence people use now in locker rooms, backstage, or before a big presentation. The silence of people who know that something big is about to happen and that screwing it up has consequences. The runners are the first to go. These are the fastest people in the group, lean, wiry, practically airborne. Their job is to circle wide, come up behind the herd, and start the panic. Not with shouting or weapons, but with motion. The bison fear movement more than sound. A well-timed blur of legs can spook 1,000 pounds of muscle into turning the wrong way, or the right way if you're lucky. You watch the runners vanish over the ridge. Then you start moving too. You're part of the wing, the drive line. Your job is to form a human wall along the edge of the valley and guide the stampede toward the cliff. Not block it. Just make everything else look slightly more terrifying than the drop. It's all about controlled chaos, which is optimistic, really. You find your position and crouch low. Your heart is pounding again. You don't know how long you wait. A minute, 5, 10. But suddenly, the ground shakes. It's not subtle. You feel it through your knees, your ribs, your teeth. They're running. You stand. All at once, the world becomes hooves and dust. You yell, waving your arms, joining the chorus of panic. The herd surges, a rolling wave of fur and force. You run alongside them, not too close, not too far. The smell is overwhelming. The dust stings your eyes. You taste earth and fear and maybe a little joy, but you're too focused to notice. The herd funnels into the valley. Ahead, the cliff waits. You keep running. 1 foot wrong, and you're done. 1 hesitation, and you'll be trampled by history. You can't outrun them. You can only angle away just in time and pray the herd doesn't shift your direction. You see the front line of bison, realize, too late, what's coming. The first animal hits the edge, and then it's chaos. The cliff does what it was designed to do. The sound is like thunder mixed with trees breaking and bones snapping. You don't look. You can't. You've seen it before, and once is enough. The dust settles. You stop running. You're still alive. You look around and see the others. Some are shaking. Some are cheering. One guy is throwing up, which feels reasonable. The bison that didn't fall mill around in the distance, confused, scattering slowly. No one chases. They're gone. You're not greedy. You just needed a few, maybe a dozen, maybe two, and the cliff gave them to you. Now the real work begins. You approach the base of the cliff. The smell hits first. It's not pleasant. The air is thick with blood and dust and something else. Something you can't name, but you'll never forget. It's not the smell of death. It's the smell of survival. The bison are piled at the bottom, some broken, some still moving. You do what your people have done for generations. You climb down, pick up your knife, and get to work. You start with the ones that are suffering. You know where to cut. Everyone does. It's not elegant. It's not poetic, but it's necessary. You do it quickly. You thank the animal silently. Then you start butchering. Everyone works. Women, men, children, elders. There's no standing around. The meat has to be cut, dried, and smoked before the sun goes down. The hides have to be cleaned. The bones have to be sorted. The dogs are already circling, but they know better than to get too close. Not yet. You cut until your hands cramp. You scrape until your back aches. Blood soaks into your robe. You don't care. This is what survival smells like. This is what dinner feels like. By the time the sun begins to drop, you're exhausted. But the drying racks are full. The fires are burning. The hides are stretched and pegged down, and the fat is rendering in clay pots. You sit by the fire, chewing on a piece of fresh liver. It's warm, slimy, strong tasting, but it's food, rich food, and your stomach doesn't complain. Someone tells a story. You half listen. You're too tired to follow it. Something about an ancestor who once fell into a pit and lived. You believe it. Sort of. The stars come out. The night air is cold again, but your belly is full and your legs are sore in that good way that means you actually did something. You pull your robe tight, roll onto your side, and close your eyes. You dream of hooves. You wake stiff and sore, but alive. Congratulations. You survived a day on the hunt. Just one. You've got another tomorrow. Because in the Great Plains, survival isn't a moment. It's a lifestyle. And you wouldn't last a day if it wasn't. Morning again. Your joints feel like driftwood. Your shoulders ache. Your hips crack when you sit up, which is both disturbing and sort of satisfying. You're young, technically, but your body doesn't care. It just knows you slept on frozen ground with a half-smoked bison hide for a mattress and your own elbow as a pillow. There's no memory foam, no orthopedic support, just muscle, bone, and frostbite flirtation. You sit up slowly. A groan escapes you, not by choice, but by necessity. Congratulations, you're aging like a Great Plains hunter, fast, quietly, and covered in old blood. Outside the tent, the camp is already awake. Nobody told you, but the sun coming up was the memo. Fires crackle. Dogs sniff around looking for bones. Someone's stirring something in a pot that smells like reheated regret. Your stomach rumbles. Again, always. You walk barefoot across the grass, instantly regretting it. The dew is ice, the ground is half frozen, and your toes curl instinctively like they're trying to escape your own body. You think about going back to get your moccasins. You don't. That would take more energy than you currently have. You squat near the fire. It's small and stubborn. The pot over it contains a familiar sight: pounded bison mixed with dried berries and fat, slowly melting into a thick, greasy paste. It's pemmican stew. Again. Still. Forever. You take a wooden bowl, scoop out a chunk, and burn your tongue. Perfect. That's the morning ritual complete. You eat in silence, chewing the way you chew when you don't want to think too hard about what you're eating. It's not about taste. It's about calories. And not dying. Across the fire, someone is sewing. A child nearby is scraping a hide. Their face is smeared with ash and berry juice, and they're wearing the exact same expression you have. The "this again" look of generational labor. It's not boredom. It's just the daily repetition of surviving without luxury, breaks, or banana pancakes. After you finish your stew, you rinse your bowl with about 3 teaspoons of cold water and a bundle of grass. That's your dishwasher. That's your routine. That's life. You walk to the drying racks to check the meat. The strips are turning dark, curling at the edges. You touch one. Still tacky. Not done. The wind picks up, rattling the frames, and you press your weight against one so it doesn't tip. You wait a moment, then exhale slowly and wonder how people ever lived like this. Oh, wait. They did. For thousands of years. Now that the hunt's over, the real work begins, turning bison into survival gear, which means, you guessed it, more scraping, pounding, boiling, tanning, and stitching. Let's talk about tanning hides, because you have not lived until you've spent 5 hours scraping dried fat off a half-frozen bison skin while kneeling in cold mud with numb fingers and 2 sore knees. There's no leather factory here, no chrome chemical process, no gloves. It's just you, the hide, and a dull scraper made from an old rib bone. You kneel down. The hide is spread over a wooden frame, tied tight with sinew. You grip the tool in both hands and begin scraping. Long, slow strokes. You press down. The fat rolls off in greasy curls. It smells like someone boiled beef inside an old shoe. You gag, briefly, then you keep going. After an hour, your arms are shaking. After 2, you've entered a state of meditative suffering. By 3, your back seizes up, and you wonder how many lifetimes your ancestors spent hunched over animal skin. Probably all of them. You're not even halfway done. Eventually, someone brings you water. It's lukewarm and tastes like last year's bark. You chug it anyway. The sun climbs higher. The camp hums with activity. People move in a rhythm. Some are cracking bones for marrow. Others are drying guts for thread. Children are gathering dung for the fire. Yes, dung. It burns cleaner than wet wood and is way easier to find on a windy plain. You don't question it. You just hold your breath when the smoke starts. Midday brings a short break. You eat another handful of pemmican and chew on a roasted bison kidney, like it's a chew toy someone left too close to the fire. It's chewy, rich, and makes your mouth taste like old pennies. You wash it down with warm water and hope for the best. In the afternoon, you're tasked with helping build a new shelter. It's a summer teepee, not as reinforced as a winter one, but still a feat of engineering, using nothing but sticks, hides, sinew, and a sheer refusal to die of exposure. You help raise the central poles. They creak and groan in the wind. You haul heavy buffalo hides across the frame. They're stiff, cold, and smell faintly of death and tanning smoke. You tie them down with cord made from twisted gut, your fingers slipping on the knots. By the time the last flap is secured, your arms feel like boiled reeds. You step back and admire the work. It's not perfect. It leans a little, but it won't fall down. Probably. Later, the women begin preparing a sweat lodge. It's not for fun. It's for cleansing, which, considering how you smell right now, is overdue. You crawl into the lodge at dusk, a low dome covered in hides. Inside, it's already warm. You sit on the packed dirt beside the others. Hot stones are brought in, placed in a central pit. Water is poured over them, and steam fills the air. Instantly, your skin prickles. Your nose runs. Your lungs feel like they're being steamed like old meat. You sit there sweating like someone buried you in a slow cooker. It's not relaxing, but it does feel necessary. You breathe, in, outside, in again. The sweat pours off you, bringing dirt, stink, and maybe some of the stress of being alive in the year 1475. Outside, the night sky spreads wide, filled with more stars than your eyes can hold. You step out of the lodge, dizzy and cleanish. You wrap yourself in a blanket and lie on the grass. It's cold again, but you don't care. The wind hums across the prairie. Somewhere, a coyote howls. You hear someone snoring. You hear the crackle of the fire and the flap of hide in the wind. You are sore, tired, slightly smoked, and still alive. And that's the most anyone can ask for out here. You close your eyes. Another day survived. Morning again. Your shoulders feel like you slept with a rock for a pillow and a ghost sitting on your chest. Which, frankly, you kind of did. That rock was your own arm, and the ghost is the weight of another day on the plains where everything is work and nothing is easy. You open your eyes slowly. Your face is half buried in a woolly hide, damp with breath and maybe a little condensation. You've sweat in this robe. You've bled in it. You've wiped your hands on it so many times it now qualifies as part of the local soil composition. Outside, you hear someone already chopping wood, which is impressive because there are no trees. Not real ones. Not like you'd hope for. If you find a tree on the Great Plains, it's either a miracle or you've wandered too close to a river valley. Most of what you call wood out here is more like sun-bleached sticks and stubborn shrubs. You burn what you can get, including bison dung. And no, you don't get used to the smell. You just get too tired to care. You sit up, your neck pops, your knees complain. You have exactly one pair of pants, and you're already wearing them, which is lucky because it's 39 degrees, the wind is howling, and you have exactly zero interest in freezing any part of your anatomy before breakfast. You crawl out of the shelter and into the wind. There it is again, that smell, that weird mix of wet grass, smoke, rawhide, and human bodies that haven't seen real soap since the concept of soap was invented. You breathe it in like someone sipping burnt tea. Deep down, this is your home. You don't have to like it. You just have to survive in it. Someone hands you a cold slab of dried meat for breakfast. No plate, no greeting, just meat. It's probably the same bison from 2 days ago. Still chewy, still full of protein, still tastes like an old leather belt dipped in animal fat. You chew slowly, quietly. Because what else are you going to do? Whip up an omelet? You wander over to the fire pit. One of the older women is stirring a thick paste in a pot. It's corn, crushed nuts, and wild onion root. The consistency is somewhere between glue and regret, but it's hot, and it fills your belly. You crouch beside the fire, your knees tight, your back sore, your hands slowly thawing in the heat. Someone cracks a joke. You don't laugh, but you do grunt in agreement, which is how laughter works out here. You think about your chores today. You'll probably have to check the meat racks, scrape more hides, maybe help someone replace a broken bowstring. It's always something. Nothing fixes itself, except blisters. Those fix themselves after they pop. Before you do anything else, you take a walk. That's the one luxury you have. Walking. It's quiet out here, and if you squint just right, it almost feels peaceful. The wind rushes through the grass. The prairie stretches out in all directions. It's so wide, so flat, so enormous that your problems feel small. You could walk for 100 days and never see a stone wall, a metal fence, or a single concrete block. You crouch by a patch of choke cherry bushes. The berries are drying up, but you pocket a few. They'll taste bitter, but they'll keep. You chew a leaf. It numbs your tongue. That's normal. You check the traps on the way back. Just some dead rabbits today. You carry them by their feet. They're stiff, cold, still useful. Their bones will be tools. Their hides will be stitched into moccasins. Nothing is wasted. Nothing ever is. You get back to camp, and someone asks you to help with the tanning pit. Great. You head to the pit. It's shallow, filled with ash, water, and the sour smell of fermenting hides. The hides have been soaking for a week. Now they need to be stretched. You brace yourself, reach in, and lift one out. It squelches. It's slimy, heavy, and smells like a wet towel left in a cave for 6 months. You drag it over to the stretching frame. You tie it down tight. You scrape. You pull. You stretch until your shoulders burn and your hands blister again. It's slow work, miserable work. And if you mess it up, the hide stiffens into something only slightly more flexible than a boulder. You finish one hide and move on to the next. There are 10 more waiting. Someone's baby starts crying nearby. You don't look up. You just keep scraping. You wonder what time it is. Then you remember that time isn't really a thing here. It's not about minutes or hours. It's about tasks. You eat when you're hungry. You sleep when you're tired. You work when there's work, and there's always work. Later, someone calls you over to help fix a dog harness. The travois got tangled yesterday, and one of the crossbars snapped. You sit cross-legged with a bundle of sinew and a bone needle, patching the leather. The dog watches you, tongue lolling, tail wagging. You smell like bison and dirt. The dog doesn't mind. Neither do you. After that, it's time to haul water. You walk half a mile with 2 heavy leather bladders strapped to your back. You fill them at a muddy creek, watching minnows dart around your toes. You swat a mosquito. You slip on a rock and curse quietly. On the walk back, the sun starts to dip. The sky turns soft gold, then orange, then violet. You look up and feel, for the first time today, something close to awe. It's still hard, still cold, still relentless. But it's beautiful, and it's yours. Back at camp, you help stir a stew. This one's made from marrow bones, wild onions, dried meat, and the last of the crushed corn. It smells like real food. You sit in a circle with the others, bowls in your hands, steam rising into the cold air. You eat slowly, carefully. You talk in low voices. Someone starts telling a story, not the kind with morals, just the kind that makes people forget their blisters. A story about a trickster coyote, a magical lake, and a man who married a bird by accident. You laugh. This time, you actually laugh. After the meal, you check the firewood. Still low, always low. You gather more, dragging it back one crooked branch at a time. Your hands are red. Your nails are cracked. But the fire stays lit. The stars are out again. A sky so wide it could swallow everything. You lie down on your robe, pull a hide over your shoulders, and try to fall asleep. Your body aches. Your stomach is full. Your brain is still running. But slowly, it quiets, and you drift. You wake up before the sun, not because you want to, but because someone sneezed in the next shelter over, a dog sat on your face, and your back has officially staged a rebellion. You roll over, pull the hide tighter, and try to steal a few more seconds of sleep. You get maybe 20. Then the wind changes, and with it comes a very familiar smell: smoke, sweat, and a hint of boiled bone. Camp is stirring again. You sit up. You scratch your head. Something crunches under your fingernails. You stop scratching. The fire outside is just coals, glowing red like angry berries in the dark. You poke at them with a stick. A few sparks jump up, like they're ready to start something. You add dried grass and a small piece of dung. The fire groans, then catches. Congratulations, you're the camp's heating system now. Someone walks past and hands you a hunk of roasted marrow. No words, just meat. You nod. That's how breakfast works. You suck the marrow from the bone. It's greasy, hot, and tastes like soft beef fat with a side of ashes. You lick your fingers. You wipe them on your leg. You keep moving. Today is not a hunting day. Today is a spirit day. Someone's uncle had a dream last night, a long one, full of snow and owls and a tree that talked, which, around here, means it's time to consult someone older, wiser, and mildly terrifying. You walk to the council tent. It's not fancy, just a bigger teepee set aside for serious things, like naming a child, or deciding where to move camp, or dealing with a bad dream about a 3-headed moose. Inside, it's dim, smoky. You sit down cross-legged next to people who all smell like cedar and nervous anticipation. The old woman sitting near the center doesn't speak for a long time. She just watches the smoke curl upward. It curls around her like it knows her name. Finally, she starts talking. Slow, rhythmic, not loud. Everyone leans forward slightly, like the words are being poured into their ears drop by drop. She talks about balance, about animals that speak in symbols, about wind that shifts too fast, about fire that eats before it warms. You don't understand everything. You're not supposed to. It's not a lecture. It's not a TED Talk. It's something older, something your bones remember, even if your mind doesn't. Afterward, the circle breaks apart slowly. You walk back to the cooking pit with your thoughts humming like bees. The world feels just a little stranger than before, a little bigger. Someone's preparing a bundle for offering. It's a small thing: herbs, tobacco, feathers, wrapped in cloth. It's for the land. A thank you. Not because the land demanded it, but because it deserves it. You help gather sage and sweet grass. You pluck a feather from a sleeping bird, whispering thanks. You tie it tight. Later, you walk with a few others to a nearby ridge. The offering is placed gently beneath a stone outcrop. No ceremony, Just silence, and a few words blown away by the wind. After that, someone asks you to gather plants. You nod. You head out past the edge of camp. Out here, you know what to look for. Yarrow for cuts, chokecherry bark for colds, prairie sage for cleansing, and if you're lucky, a late patch of wild onions that didn't die under frostbite. You bend, pick, sniff, crush, and store. Each movement practiced, you know which roots to avoid, which leaves sting, which berries mean someone's going to spend the night vomiting beside the fire. You've made that mistake before. As the sun rises higher, you pass a group of kids wrestling near a stream. One of them is already covered in mud. Another is screaming with laughter, pretending to be a buffalo. You smile. You walk slower. There's a rhythm to this place that doesn't care about time. Just motion, seasons, shadows, wind. When you return to camp, a woman is heating rocks for the next sweat. She waves you over. You help with the fire, placing logs carefully, arranging the stones like you're building something sacred. Which you are? Later, inside the lodge, it's hotter than the inside of the sun. Steam hits your face like a wall of soup. You sweat through your hair, your thoughts, your memories. People sing softly in the dark. Not songs for fun. Songs for remembering, for strength. You don't know all the words, but you hum the shape of them. When you crawl out of the lodge, your skin feels loose, like it might slide off your bones and start a new life as a puddle. You lay flat on the cool earth, breathing shallow, alive, lighter somehow. Dinner is a soft mash of roasted squash and boiled corn. It's a gift from the last trade gathering. A woman from Far East had extra, and your group had smoked tongues to offer. It was a good trade. You eat slowly, savoring the warmth. Later, you help mend a broken bow. You whittle the edge of a new string notch, careful not to split the wood. Your hands are steady now. They weren't always, but days of doing hard things have made your fingers learn patience. Someone nearby is making jewelry, beads from bone, wrapped with sinew, dusted with crushed shell. The colors are warm, earthy, nothing bright. Everything here knows its place, even the art. You ask for a piece of thread. You fix a tear in your sleeve. You poke your finger. You bleed a little. You suck the blood and keep going. As the sun dips again, a cold wind picks up. People huddle near the fire. Someone tells a story about a bear who stole a human's voice. You listen. You close your eyes. You feel the dirt beneath you, the smoke in your hair, the ache in your chest that isn't pain, just life. Tomorrow, camp might move. The buffalo are still migrating, and so are you. Always moving, always carrying home on your back. You wouldn't last a day, remember? And now you've lasted 5. Sort of. You pull your robe tighter, press your head into the folded hide, and let your muscles go soft. The wind whistles across the plain. Your breath slows, and sleep comes. Your dreams are strange, not bad strange, just vivid. Something about walking through endless grass, your feet leaving no prints, a bison staring at you like it knows your name. You wake slowly, unsure whether you're still dreaming. The air is heavy, damp. Your robe clings to your skin. Rain. You smell it before you hear it. A soft drizzle, barely there, whispering across the hide of the teepee like it's trying not to wake anyone. But it wakes you. You blink, stretch. You slept crooked, Your arm folded weird, and now it feels like it doesn't belong to you. You shake it out, pat your robe, and listen. Outside, the camp is quiet, quieter than usual. Rain slows everything. People move differently when the sky leaks. Fires are harder to start. Walking turns into slipping. And good luck drying meat in this weather. You crawl out of the shelter. The grass is soaked. Your moccasins squelch. You sigh, because of course they do. The fire pit is wet. The ashes are wet. The wood is wet. You kneel beside it and coax the smallest ember back to life. You blow on it gently, shielding it with your hands. You feed it dry bark, dry grass, and prayer. Eventually, it coughs back to life. Barely. You sit in the steam, shoulders hunched, breath clouding in the air. Someone joins you, then another. Everyone's quiet. That's what rainy mornings are for, silence and staring into flames. Breakfast is thin today. The last of the dried cornmeal, mixed with warm water, and the saddest handful of crushed nuts. No berries, no sweetness, just a bowl of beige sadness. You eat it anyway, slowly, because you're not wasting a single grain. Later, the decision is made. It's time to move camp. You feel it in your stomach, that slow turn of dread. Because moving means packing everything you own onto dogs and dragging it across wet plains while trying not to freeze, sprain an ankle, or get caught in a hailstorm. There's no wagon, no horse, just you, a travois, and the fact that you have legs. You help break down the teepee. The poles come down first, long, wet, heavy. They slap the ground with a thud. You wrap the hides, roll them tight, and bind them with sinew. Your fingers are numb by the time you're done. The dogs are already pacing. They know the routine. You strap the travois to their sides. You load the bundles. You check the weight. You adjust the balance. You shoulder your pack. And you walk. The camp moves in a slow, snaking line across the grasslands. 60 people, 10 dogs, one direction, away. Your feet sink into the wet earth. Your robe clings to your legs. The wind cuts sideways, and the rain picks up just enough to make you consider crying. But you don't, because crying takes energy, and your body's using all of that to keep moving forward. You walk past prairie dog holes, past muddy stream beds, past scattered bones of something big, long dead. You avoid the skull. You keep walking. At midday, you stop. Just briefly, long enough to eat a strip of leather that might have once been jerky. You chew it until it softens. It doesn't, but you pretend. You drink water from a hide pouch. It tastes like smoke and old grass. You wipe your mouth with your sleeve. The wind picks up. You keep going. By evening, you reach higher ground. A place with a slope, a view, and just enough shelter from the wind to consider it home again. The elders nod. This will do. You drop your pack, your knees buckle, your shoulders scream. You help set the poles again. Drag the hides into place. Tie them down tight. You start the fire. Slowly. Carefully. With frozen fingers and borrowed breath. When the flames catch, you sit close enough to feel your skin again. Someone starts cooking a stew. It's mostly bone broth and boiled roots. You smell it before you see it. You nearly cry again, not because it smells good, but because it smells like something. You eat with your hands. You lick the bowl. You lean back against your new old home and stare at the stars peeking through the cloud cover. A boy nearby is carving a bone into a tool. He works slowly, tongue poking out of the side of his mouth, completely focused. You used to do that. Still do. Someone coughs. Deep, wet. You glance over. Someone else is already fetching herbs. There's no doctor, no clinic, just plants, instinct, and hope. You help carry water again. Your arms are jelly. Your legs barely work. But there's no done here, just next. As night falls, someone begins to drum. Not loud, just steady. A heartbeat. You sit by the fire and let the sound carry your mind somewhere else. Somewhere older, somewhere softer. A woman sings. Her voice is low, cracked, perfect. She sings of bison, of hunger, of the moon. You close your eyes, you sleep hard, and in the morning, it's colder. Frost covers the grass. Your breath clouds before your face. You press your hands into your armpits just to feel your fingers again. The dogs are covered in rime. You brush it off. They lick your hand. You keep moving. Because you have to. That's life here. Beautiful. Brutal. Rhythmic. You wouldn't last a day? Maybe. But you're still here. Sort of. The frost crunches under your feet like old bones. You woke up before the sun again, because of course you did. Your robe was damp, your nose was cold, your breath curled above your face like a ghost trying to leave. The fire died sometime during the night. You didn't hear it go out, but you felt it. That creeping chill, that numbness in your fingers. You curled up tighter and hoped for sunrise. Now it's morning, and your job is simple. Don't die of exposure. That's it. That's the whole plan. You shuffle over to the fire pit, clutching a bundle of dry grass and bark. You strike flint on stone. The sparks are lazy. The wind is hungry. It takes a few tries, but finally, the flame catches. You feed it slowly, carefully. The smoke stings your eyes. You squint and smile. Fire again. Warmth again. Life again. You warm your hands, turning them slowly like you're roasting meat. Your fingernails are purple. Your knuckles are cracked. Your sleeves are stiff with frost. Someone hands you a bowl. It's hot. You flinch. Then you cradle it like it's a newborn baby made of soup. It's not soup, it's porridge. Barely. Boiled cornmeal and a few stray chunks of dried meat. No seasoning, no salt, no joy. But it's hot, and that's enough. You eat with slow, mechanical bites. You watch the wind tear through the grass. You see your breath. You see the dogs curled into balls, steaming gently. Today, you're digging pits. Food storage. You walk to the edge of camp where the ground is flat and dry enough to dig. You pick up a sharpened stick, brace your knees, and jab downward. It's like trying to dig through bone. The frost line fights back. The soil is frozen just enough to make every jab feel like punishment. You sweat. You grunt. You scrape. You make progress, inch by inch. The pit doesn't have to be deep, just deep enough to bury baskets of dried meat and root vegetables. Cool, dry, safe from scavengers and sunlight. It's a pantry with no shelves, no labels, no expiration dates. Just dirt and muscle memory. You line the bottom with dried grass. You place the baskets carefully. You cover them with hide, then dirt. You mark the spot with a stick. You hope the coyotes don't find it, or the neighbor kids. After the pits, you check the drying racks. The weather's slowed the process. The meat's tacky. The sinew strings are loose. You tighten them. You slap the meat like it insulted you. You sniff it. It smells. Okay? Not great. Not dead. Just okay. You turn the strips over. You hum while you work. Someone nearby is smoking fish. You didn't catch it. It came from a trade. Bartered a bundle of dried berries and a bone necklace for 3 trout wrapped in ice. You help string them up over the fire. The smoke coils upward. It stings your eyes again. You wipe them with your sleeve and blink into the wind. By midday, the clouds gather. Gray, heavy, threatening. You look up and feel that old tickle of panic. Storm's coming, not the dramatic kind with lightning and thunder. The slow kind, the creeping kind, the one that settles over the plains like a blanket made of hunger and silence. You help reinforce the shelters. Extra hides, extra pegs. You drag rocks around the base to keep the wind out. You mutter to yourself. You tie knots with numb fingers. When the snow starts, it's light, gentle, almost pretty. But it's never just pretty. It's a warning. By evening, the world has turned white. You eat indoors. Everyone does. You crouch close to the fire. The teepee is thick with people and breath and the smell of boiled squash. There's laughter, quiet, close. Someone's telling a story about the last great snow, the one where the dogs had to sleep on people to keep them alive. Everyone nods. Some smile. It's not funny, but it's true. You sleep light that night. The snow presses against the hide walls. The wind claws at the seams. You dream of bison with frost on their backs and eyes like mirrors. In the morning, the world is quiet. Too quiet. Your robe is stiff. The fire is dead. The air inside the teepee is colder than you thought air could be without turning solid. You crawl out and see it. Snow drifts up to your knees. The drying racks collapsed. The meat is buried. The dogs are shaking ice off their fur. You move fast. You grab a stick. You dig. You uncover what you can. You gather firewood from the pile you buried last week, now a crusted, frozen mess that barely burns. The fire takes half an hour to start. You blow on it until your lips sting. When it catches, you want to cry, but the tears would freeze. Today's goal? Stay warm. Stay fed. Stay dry. Nothing else matters. No errands, no appointments, no social media, just the slow crawl of time inside a snow-covered camp with wind like razors and hunger hiding behind every corner. You cook, you eat, you rest. You help mend robes with fingers that barely work. You rotate your boots by the fire so they don't freeze into twisted sculptures. You scrape your breath off the inside of the teepee wall. You exist. Barely, but you do. You're not sure how many days it's been since the snow started. 3? 4? Time has dissolved into a white blur of ice, smoke, and muscle cramps. You don't really wake up anymore. You just shift from one state of discomfort to another. From half sleep on a hide that smells like 10 winters ago, to sitting up with frozen hair and a mouth so dry it feels like it's lined with pine bark. The fire is barely alive, a weak glow wheezing in a bed of ashes. You feed it twigs with stiff fingers. You whisper to it like it's a baby bird. Please live. Please stay warm. Please don't let me die in my socks. Someone nearby is already moaning. Not in pain, just in frustration. The stew froze overnight. It was inside the teepee, in a pot, next to a fire. Still froze. Now it's a solid block of squash, bone broth, and regret. You hack at it with a knife. It sounds like cutting through wood. It might be. You suck on a shard. It tastes like winter and sadness. You chew anyway. Today, someone slips on ice and snaps their wrist. It happens fast. 1 second, they're hauling firewood. The next, they're lying in the snow, clutching their arm, making noises like a cornered raccoon. You rush over, you hold their shoulder. Someone else grabs a brace, just a curved stick and a strip of hide. It's not glamorous, it's not painless, but it works. They bite down on leather. You hold your breath. The arm is set with a crunch that echoes in your spine. You don't scream. They do. Then it's over, sort of. Someone makes a paste from willow bark and packs it around the wrist. Natural painkiller, slightly bitter. You chew a bit yourself, even though your only injury is existing in the month of January. Later, you help dig out the meat pit again. The snow nearly buried the marker. You scratch at the ground with frozen hands until your nails turn purple. You uncover the hide lid. You lift it. Inside, the meat is intact, cold, hard, safe. You pull out what you need. Just enough. Always just enough. You think about spring, then stop. Spring is too far away, too hopeful. You can't afford hope right now. Back at camp, someone snaps at someone else. Too loud, too sharp. Everyone goes quiet. Tensions are normal in winter. There's no space, no privacy, no breaks. Every face is one you've seen 1,000 times. Every voice is a note in the same slow song. You start to hear footsteps before they happen. You know someone's cough from the rhythm of it. You have no room for secrets. So the tension builds, quietly, slowly, until someone snaps over a burnt piece of meat or a misplaced bundle of sinew. No one yells. Not really. You don't have the energy. You just stare, breathe, try not to let it boil. Later, you help 2 children build a wind wall out of packed snow. It's just a crescent mound stacked high beside the fire. But it helps. Blocks the worst of the gusts. The kids laugh as they shape it. One of them shoves snow down your back. You threaten revenge with a snowball the size of your head. You don't throw it, but they run anyway. That night, someone sings. Software wordless. A tune passed down by throat and breath alone. You lean against the teepee frame, eyes half closed. The fire cracks. Someone adds more wood. You feel the heat on your cheeks. You feel your toes again. You breathe. You're alive. Again. Still. There's a moment in winter where the world just stops. Not in a poetic way. In a literal, terrifying, too quiet kind of way. It's that hour before dawn, when the wind pauses, when the sky forgets to turn colors, when you wake up and wonder if you're dead. You're not. You're just cold and stiff and vaguely resentful that your ancestors didn't invent central heating earlier. You pull your robe tighter. You curl into a ball. You try to burrow into the hide beneath you, as if you can disappear into animal fur and wake up in spring. Someone stirs nearby. The fire's gone out again. It keeps doing that. You drag yourself upright and feel every vertebrae announce itself like a xylophone of regret. You add bark. You blow gently. The fire catches. Barely. You hold your hands above the flame like it's your only friend. Because it is. You eat a few strips of dried meat. You chew for too long. Your jaw clicks. You swallow anyway. It's fine. You're fine. You're still here. Someone's gone. not just missing. Gone. They didn't wake up this morning. An elder. Not a surprise. They were frail. Tired. They'd stopped eating 2 days ago. Said they were done chewing. You thought it was a joke. It wasn't. People are quiet. No one wails. No one panics. Just silence and movement. The body is wrapped in robes. The fire is fed. A few people sing low. You watch. You don't know the song, but you hum with them anyway. Later, the body is taken out of camp. Buried, burned, left for the earth. It depends on the tradition, on the family, on the story. You don't ask. You just help carry the rocks. Grief here is not loud. It's practical. It's gentle. It's layered into work. Afterward, someone passes around a bundle of dried sweetgrass. You breathe in the smoke. It clears your sinuses. A little. You close your eyes. There's nothing poetic about loss when you're already surviving by inches. But it lingers. It always does. The next day, the snow starts to melt. Not fast, not dramatically, but it starts. A slow drip from the teepee eaves. A hint of mud around the meat pit. A softening underfoot. You feel it, the shift. Spring doesn't arrive in bursts. It creeps. The animals know before you do. Birds appear on the horizon. The dogs stop shaking ice from their fur. People breathe deeper. They stretch. They talk again. You shed a layer. Just one. But it feels like losing 10 pounds of winter. You eat fresh shoots, bitter greens that poke up too early. They taste awful. But they're not meat. And your body is grateful for anything that isn't dried or smoked. You help build a new drying rack. You repair a cracked water bladder. You sleep deeper. You dream of grass. Not a field. Not a patch. Just the sound of wind and grass that isn't covered in snow. You wake smiling and sore. Always sore, but smiling. The first bison sighting of spring comes the same way thunder does. Distant, rumbling, and completely impossible to ignore. Someone saw them on the ridge 2 days ago. A long black ribbon, moving slow, grazing, shifting. Thousands, maybe more. You think maybe it was a dream. It wasn't. They're real. They're coming. And that means everything changes. The quiet tension of winter, the brittle silence, the clenched teeth, the frozen toes, gives way to something electric. People move faster, talk louder. You hear laughter again. Real laughter. Not the sarcastic kind you use when your foot falls through the snow crust for the 100th time. The good kind. You help prepare the weapons. Not just your own. Everyone's. You rewrap sinew bindings on arrowheads. You test the spine of your bow with careful hands. You run your thumb over the hide strap on your quiver. It's dry, cracked. Everything's cracked, including your patience. You help the children collect feathers to fletch arrows. Some of them pluck from sleeping birds. Some find feathers caught in shrubs. One kid tries to use a chunk of fur. You gently explain that bison don't fly. Someone sharpens a spear with a stone that belonged to their grandfather. They work slow, focused. The stone glints in the sun like it remembers blood. That night, people sing, loud, together. Drums come out of storage, rattles, flutes. The teepee flickers with firelight and rhythm. You don't know all the words, but you don't need to. You clap, you nod, you move your feet just enough to feel like you belong. The next morning, the air is full of sound. Not wind, not silence, life, birds, insects, a low grunting from somewhere just out of view. You climb a hill and see them. Bison. Hundreds, maybe more. A dark tide on the edge of the world. Grazing, roaming, breathing. You've seen them before. You've eaten them, worn them, slept beneath them. But it still hits you in the chest like thunder. They're beautiful and terrifying. Like gods that forgot they were gods and became meat instead. The hunt doesn't happen right away. It's not chaos. It's ceremony, strategy. You help scout the edge of the herd. You note the wind. You check the terrain. You mark the safe paths, places where bison can be funneled, guided, cornered. There's no fence, no bullets, no pickup trucks, just you, a few other people, and the wind. When the day comes, you run. You run like your life depends on it, because it kind of does. You shout, you wave, you push from the side, not too close, not too loud, just enough. The bison move like water, fast, deep, unstoppable. You don't control them. You suggest, you nudge, and if you're lucky, they listen. One breaks from the herd, the others follow. Into the funnel, toward the trap. You notch an arrow. You breathe in. You release. The arrow flies. It lands. Not a kill shot, but close. The bison stumbles. Others close in. Snares, spears, a coordinated chaos. You move without thinking. Your heart hammers. Your legs burn. By the end, two lie still. You sit, panting, covered in dirt, blood, and triumph. No cheers, no boasting. Just breathe. Just thanks. You walk back to camp slower than you left it. Your hands shake. Your stomach growls. Your ribs ache from running. But there's meat now. There's life again. People start preparing immediately. The hides are cleaned. The meat is cut. The fat is rendered. Nothing is wasted. You help stretch a hide. You tie it to the frame. You scrape. You sing. Not because you're happy, because you're alive. You wouldn't last a day? Maybe not. But you lasted a season. You survived the freeze. You buried someone. You dug food from the ice. You ran with bison. And now, you get to rest. You lay on your robe, a new one. Less stiff, less cold, more earned. The stars above feel closer somehow. You close your eyes, you exhale, you sleep. Summer creeps in like a cat. Quiet pause, slow steps, and then suddenly, it's in your face, licking your eyelids and shedding everywhere. You wake up sweating. You're not under a robe anymore. You're on top of it, sticky and half naked, your hair matted with sleep and smoke. You roll over, and your cheek peels off the hide like a piece of old bark. You wipe your face. You blink. The teepee's hot. Too hot. You crawl outside into the morning sun, where the ground is already warm enough to fry a grasshopper. Not that you're going to try. You've eaten worse, but breakfast today is better than bugs. Somebody's stirring a pot of boiled corn and squash. A good batch. It smells like warmth and comfort. You eat with a flat spoon carved from bone and don't say a word. Nobody does. It's too early for talking. just chewing and existing. Afterward, you walk to the water. It's a shallow creek, trickling low and warm and smelling slightly of algae and wet dogs. You wade in anyway. You splash your face. You rinse your arms. You dunk your whole head and come up gasping like you forgot how water works. You sit on a rock and let the sun dry your skin. The wind is soft today. The bugs are not. Mosquitoes. Everywhere. They don't care who you are. They don't care what kind of day you've had. They want your blood, and they want it now. You slap your neck. You slap your thigh. You swat the air like you're doing some kind of erratic ceremonial dance no one asked for. This is your life now. You smear mud on your legs. It helps. A little. Back at camp, the days are longer now, not just because of the sun, but because you can do more. You gather reeds. You twist them into cord. You help tan a hide in the shade, scraping the last bits of flesh while trying not to pass out from the smell. It's always some version of this. Work, eat, sweat, scratch, repeat. You watch two people argue over the placement of a drying rack. It's a quiet argument, sharp glances, tight mouths. Nothing explodes. Nobody storms off. They just glare and keep working. That's how conflict happens here. Quiet, simmering. You're learning to read the signs. Someone braids your hair. You sit still for as long as your spine allows. The hands are careful, practiced. You don't talk. You listen. Birds, footsteps, laughter, the hum of summer doing its job. One of the elders has a limp that's getting worse. They walk with a stick now. You help them to the fire. You boil herbs for tea. You soak a cloth and place it on their knee. It smells sharp, bitter. But they smile. Just a little. You realize that healing here isn't dramatic. It's quiet. Daily. It's in the hands that carry. The eyes that notice. The routine. Later, a child is born. You don't see it, not directly, but you hear it, the cries, the song, the celebration that comes after. It's a girl. You see her that evening, swaddled in soft hide, her face still red and squished. You stare. You smile. You don't know what else to do. A birth and a death in the same moon. That's how it always is. You help build a small frame for her cradleboard. You smooth the edges. You tie the bindings. It's not fancy, but it's strong. That's enough. That night, the air cools slightly. You sit by the fire and rub a salve into your sunburned neck. It smells like pine and desperation. Someone plays a flute. Slow, low notes. You close your eyes and let it carry you somewhere softer. You sleep better now. Not deeper, but easier. You don't dread the mornings as much. You're still sore, still bitten, still hungry, but you're here, and the days go on. Summer doesn't ask you how you feel. It just arrives, loud, sweaty, demanding. You wake to heat already pressing against your eyelids. The teepee smells like every person who's ever slept in it, layered in wood smoke and half-dried socks. You crawl out, blinking at the sun like it personally betrayed you. The grass is high. The air is thick. You can't tell if you're sweating or just melting. You step carefully because the ground is crawling. Beetles, ants, that weird shiny centipede thing that always shows up near the firewood and looks like it could eat your thoughts if it tried hard enough. You nod at a few people still asleep under robes, passed out like logs beside snoring dogs. The camp is slow to wake when it's hot. Everything feels heavier, even time. Today you're weaving, not because you love it, because the storage baskets are falling apart and no one else volunteered. You sit in the shade. You twist grass. You tie knots. You jab your thumb. You suck your thumb. You keep weaving. A girl nearby is doing the same thing. She's better at it. You know she knows. She doesn't say anything. She just smirks. You make a joke. She rolls her eyes. You pretend not to care. You care. Someone walks by humming. A man with a fresh kill over his shoulder. A rabbit, small, still warm. He nods at you. The girl waves. You keep weaving. Later, you help prepare the hide. It's tedious. It smells bad. There's always a fly in your face. You scrape until your arms ache. The girl is still weaving. You pretend not to look. The next day, she hands you a piece of bark with something carved into it. A spiral. A shape. You're not sure. It might be a joke. It might be something else. You keep it anyway. Relationships here don't happen with flowers and long walks on beaches. They happen over fish guts and sunburns and working quietly near each other until something clicks. There's no privacy, no secrets. Everyone sees everything. So people learn how to be subtle. You're learning. That night, you help someone repair a fishnet. They talk while they work. Stories, family, dreams. You mostly listen. Dreams matter here. They're not just weird nighttime nonsense. They're signs, messages, warnings. If you say you dreamed of a fox, someone might ask if it was facing you or running away. That matters. You think back to your last dream. Something about falling into a nest of snakes that turned into ropes. You haven't told anyone, yet. But you think about it. Snakes mean change. Or lies. Or maybe nothing. Depends who you ask. The girl, her name is Soft, you hear it only once, dreamed of rain falling upward. She tells you in passing, like it doesn't mean anything. You nod. You think about that for days. Later you help prepare a stew for a gathering. It's a shared meal, a shared fire, a time when the whole camp moves slower and closer. People tell stories, not just for kids, for everyone. You sit, legs crossed, hands warm around a bowl, and listen. There's one about a man who tried to outrun a storm by riding a bison backward. There's another about a coyote who stole fire from the stars and hid it in his tail. You laugh at the punchlines even when they're sad. You feel the stories in your ribs. They're not just entertainment. They're memory, culture, law, warnings, medicine. They live in people. And now you're part of that. Even if only a little. You sleep that night under stars that feel impossibly close. You dream again. This time, the girl is there. She's laughing. You don't remember why. You wake up with a sore neck and something like peace settling behind your eyes. To be continued in part 13, where we'll journey into hunting again. First scars, ceremonies of adulthood, and how surviving turns into belonging. Current total word count, approximately 57,400. Your first scar isn't dramatic. There's no wild animal, no bison stampede, no heroic save, just a knife, a dull one, and your own dumb idea. You were helping carve a new spear shaft, trying to show off a little. Not too much, just enough to make someone glance your way. You slipped. The blade found your thumb, not deep, but deep enough. You said nothing. At first. Then you hissed. Then you swore under your breath. Then you stared at the blood like it had personally insulted you. Someone laughed, not unkindly, just the laugh of someone who's seen this exact mistake a dozen times. They patched you up. Pine pitch, a strip of hide, a quick slap to the back like you were being welcomed into a very unimpressive club. Now you've got a mark, just a little one, but it's yours. It itches for a week. Later that same day, a messenger arrives from another camp. You don't know him. He's lean, wind-chapped, with that look of someone who's been walking too long with not enough water. He brings news, a gathering, not war, not a warning. Just people. Meeting, trading, dancing. The kind of event that turns dust into memory. The mood in camp changes instantly. People move faster, talk louder. The elders sit in a circle, nodding and grunting and making plans. You're going, not alone, not with fanfare, just as part of the group. It means travel. Again, you pack light. You walk hard. The trail is hot, but not cruel. You stop near water. You rest in shade. You carry your own weight, plus a little more, because you don't want to look soft. At night, you sleep on packed earth with your feet sore and your shoulders aching, and you call that progress. The first sign of the gathering is smoke, not danger, food, then drums, then voices. You crest a rise and see them, tense like brush strokes across the grass, fires, dogs, children, people. So many people. You feel small again, not in a bad way, in a you're not the center of the universe way. You see old friends reunited, strangers laughing like they were born next to each other. Someone offers you food before asking your name. You eat it. You thank them. You move on. The air hums with possibility. Trade happens fast. Hide for beads, knife for bone, dried berries for a hat that looks like it might be cursed. You see someone trade a song, literally. A few lines of a melody that the other person promises never to sing in front of the original owner. Everyone nods, like that makes sense. You meet a storyteller with a limp and too many teeth. He tells you the sky used to be much lower until a spider pulled it up with threads of smoke. You believe him. A woman paints your arms with red ochre. She doesn't explain why. You don't ask. You dance. Not well, but earnestly. The drums are like a second heartbeat. Your feet find a rhythm your head doesn't understand. Later, you sit under a hide awning with the girl who maybe likes you and maybe doesn't. You share meat. She makes fun of your scar. You make fun of her basket. She threatens to push you into the fire. You both laugh. It feels like something. That night, the stars are outrageous. You lie on your back, warm with food and sweat and half-remembered songs, and you feel full. Not just fed. Full. You might actually be okay. The gathering ends the way storms do. Not with a bang, with a breeze. People pack slowly. They say goodbye with shoulder touches, with quiet words, with gifts too small to matter and too personal to forget. A bone whistle, a pouch of seeds, a carved bead shaped like a lopsided bird. You walk back heavier and lighter at the same time. The camp feels quiet now. Not empty. Just settled. Like everyone's lungs finally exhaled at once. Then the wind shifts, and you smell them. Bison. Again. This time, closer. And bigger. You're older now. Not by much, but enough. Your arms remember how to hold a bow. Your legs remember how to run. Your body still aches, but it's a familiar ache. One that says, "We're doing this again." You scout. You whisper. You plan. There's a younger hunter now, full of questions and too much energy. You see yourself in him. Sort of. Except he talks more. You tell him to watch his footing. He rolls his eyes. You say nothing else. He'll learn. When the hunt begins, the ground trembles. The bison charge like a living flood. You don't run this time. You move. Calm. Controlled. You find your place. You draw your bow. You fire. The arrow lands. It's not your best shot, but it's solid. The bison drops. You stand over it later, hand on its thick shoulder, whispering thanks. Not words, really, just breathe. Back in camp, you help butcher. You help carry. You help explain things you didn't understand a year ago, like how to cut a tendon without dulling the blade, or how to recognize when meat is just turning. You're part of it now, fully. You don't feel like you're pretending anymore. You don't feel like a guest. That night, a storm rolls in. Big one. The sky turns black. The air goes still. The dogs bark before the first thunderclap. You brace the teepee. You tie the hides tight. You move water skins inside. You check on the old man who forgets where he is sometimes. He grips your hand and says your name wrong. You nod anyway. The rain comes sideways. The wind howls. You sit inside, surrounded by bodies and smoke and damp fur, and you wait. Someone lights a fire anyway. You shield it with your back. You feed it bits of dry grass like they're sacred. The teepee creaks, but it holds. And so do you. In the morning, the camp is soaked, but intact. You step outside and see the sky cracking open to blue. You feel the sun. You're not cold. You breathe. You eat warm meat by a dry fire. Someone hands you a gourd of tea. You sip. You smile. Later, you sit with the girl. Now a woman. She braids your hair like it's always been hers to braid. You close your eyes. This is life now, not survival. Life. And you know what? You still probably wouldn't last a day here. Not without effort, not without pain, not without learning how to carry your own fire and forget how comfort used to feel. But you made it. Some version of you did. You didn't freeze. You didn't starve. You didn't panic and run when the bison came. You stood. You stayed. You learned. And now, as the wind softens and the smoke curls into the sky like a prayer with no words, you lie down. You wrap yourself in robes that smell like every season you survived. You listen to the breathing around you, to the soft creak of wood and the low murmur of someone telling a story to a child. You close your eyes, and you sleep, which, lucky for you, is something they didn't always get to do without fear. You sleep with a belly full, a shelter around you, and your toes not frozen off, which is more than most could ask for. So be glad you're not in a teepee anymore. You're in a bed, with sheets, and a mattress, and a bathroom you don't have to dig, and plumbing that never asked you to melt snow just to flush it. So yeah, no offense, but you wouldn't last a day on the Great Plains. But you did last this story. Now close your eyes, feel your heartbeat slow, and remember to be grateful for your pillow, your toothbrush, and the fact that no one's asking you to tan a hide tomorrow. Good night. And comment below what time it is and where you're listening from. You wake up with a stick in your back. Not a metaphor, a literal stick. It worked its way up through the hide floor sometime in the night, and now it's pressing directly into that soft, cursed muscle between your spine and your soul. You grunt, shift, try to find a new angle. There isn't one. You roll over and stare at the top of the teepee like it owes you an apology. There's a spider on the ceiling. You think about moving. You don't. Outside, the camp is already alive. Children are shouting. Dogs are barking. Someone's yelling about firewood. Someone else is pretending they didn't hear that. You crawl out into the daylight, blinking like a mole that's been cursed with consciousness. The sun slaps your face. The grass is wet. The air smells like damp leather and mild irritation. Breakfast is ready, which is generous because ready means boiled something in a pot until it stopped being a solid. Today, it's corn mush with shreds of dried bison fat, rich, chewy, slightly unsettling in texture. You eat it anyway. You have to. Food doesn't go uneaten out here. Not because of manners, because you don't know when you'll eat like this again. After breakfast, you follow the others to the edge of camp. Time to move. Again. It's not dramatic. There's no big meeting, no speech, no shouting. Just small conversations. People passing bundles, rolling hides, tightening ropes, watching the sky. There are signs. You've learned to read them now. Too many ants near the drying racks. Less bird noise at dusk. Winds from the wrong direction. Nothing urgent. Just off. Enough to trigger that quiet instinct in everyone's ribs. It's time to go. You help break down the lodge. The poles creak. The hide smells like rain and long conversations. You fold it. You lash it to the travois. You glance at the girl. You don't call her the girl anymore, but the habit lingers. She's wrapping the water skins. You work in rhythm without speaking. The trail is long. You walk for hours. No horses. Not yet. Not here. Everything moves on legs and willpower. You pass old camps, bare earth, fire pits long cold, scattered feathers, broken sticks, a half-buried bone flute. You step carefully around it, not out of fear, out of respect. You reach the new site by dusk. It's high ground, good drainage, windbreak from the west. You nod. So does everyone else. Camp is rebuilt fast. Poles, hides, fire. You start the fire this time. First try. No one claps, but someone passes you a piece of dried meat, and that's better than applause. That night, the air is quiet. No drums, no dogs barking, just the hum of the plains and your own breath, finally slowing. You lie on your robe again. The stick's not here. Progress. The stars above you blink like they're trying to stay awake too. You smile. Just a little. And sleep. You wake up to buzzing. Not voices, not footsteps. Buzzing. You swat before your eyes are even open. Something bounces off your cheek. You sit up fast, hair sticking to your forehead, and smack your own ear hard enough to see stars. It's fly season. Again. You thought the winter was bad. You thought the cold was the enemy. You were wrong. This is worse. At least cold has the decency to be quiet. The flies don't care who you are, where you came from, or how spiritually grounded you feel. They just want your sweat, your tears, your soul. You stumble outside with red eyes and a stiff back, arms already swinging like you're trying to fight off an invisible curse. Someone hands you a clump of wet sage. You rub it on your arms. You smell like burnt earth now, but the flies back off a little. Only a little. You sit by the morning fire, legs folded, shirt half off, trying to pick ants out of your moccasins. Someone's already complaining about the beetles. Someone else found a centipede in their food pouch. You stop eating mid-chew. Welcome to the beautiful, itchy, crawling side of nature. You carry water today, farther than usual. The last stream dried up. This new one is fine. Just farther. The kind of distance that turns a simple chore into a test of endurance. You carry 2 bladders. Full, heavy, sloshing against your hip like sleepy goats. The sun is cruel, not hot, just aggressive, like it's daring you to give up. You don't, because giving up means walking back with empty hands and the wrong kind of silence around your name. On the way back, you see something strange. Footprints, not yours, not anyone in camp. Too fresh, too deep. You crouch, you stare, you don't move. You listen, nothing, but you mark it in your head. Back at camp, you mention it, quietly, to the right person. They nod, they go still, they murmur to someone else. The elders talk, not loudly, just close together. The rest of the day moves slower. People stay nearer the fire. Children don't wander far. Even the dogs act like they've been told a secret. You keep your knife close tonight. Sleep doesn't come easy. You lie awake under the stars, one hand resting on your bundle of tools, listening for twigs breaking or grass moving the wrong way. You hear nothing, but nothing has weight now. The footprints don't go away. By the second morning, more people have seen them. Not just a few now, several, circling, coming close, disappearing again, always near water, never straight into camp. It's not just a wandering traveler, it's someone watching. Maybe one person, maybe more. No one says the word raid, not yet, but everyone's thinking it, so the rhythm changes. You don't talk as loud, you don't walk alone. You tie your moccasins tighter, check your knife 3 times before sleeping, and hang a rattle from your door flap, not for decoration, for warning. The kids stop playing. They whisper instead. They stay close to their mothers, who keep glancing at the tree line with that look that says, "Not again. Not now. Please, not now." You help gather wood, but not far from camp. You look back every 20 steps. At night, the fire stays lit longer. Shadows stretch and shift in the grass, and every one of them looks like something it's not. You listen more than you speak. There's a man in camp who fought in a real raid years ago. He doesn't say much, but tonight, he sits near the fire and begins to talk. Not to you, just to the space between his knees and the flames. He talks about watching the shadows of men move faster than animals should, about hearing a child cry out and knowing it was already too late. He describes the sound of someone breathing when they're pretending to be dead. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't cry. He just talks. When he finishes, no one says anything. Someone adds another log to the fire, and then people sing. Not a war song, not a mourning song. Something soft, slow, older than the fear. You hum along, quiet. Your hand rests on your knife all night. You don't sleep much, but you don't run either. In the morning, the footprints are gone. For now, the tension lingers like smoke. But life, as always, keeps moving. Because it has to. The footprints stop showing up, but the silence they left behind doesn't. No one says it out loud, but you all start moving a little differently, a little tighter, like threads pulling closer in the cold. You keep a watch at night now, not just one person, two, always two. They sit by the fire with spears across their knees and eyes that don't blink much. You take your turn eventually. It's strange being awake while the rest of camp sleeps. You listen harder than you've ever listened before. You hear a beetle dragging a twig through the dirt like it's doing construction. You hear dogs shifting in their dreams. You hear someone whispering in their sleep. You don't hear any footsteps. That's something. By the third watch, the old rhythm starts creeping back in. Not quickly, just gently. People laugh again. You see someone teasing their sibling with a burnt stick. You hear a baby squeal with delight because someone gave them an acorn like it was treasure. You see two teens sneaking off toward the water at dusk, badly pretending not to be noticed. You don't say anything. The dogs relax first. They always know before people do. They stretch longer, bark less, sleep harder. You take that as a sign. One day, someone paints your shoulder. No warning, just a streak of red across your skin while you're working on a water pouch. You look up. The elder nods. That's all. No speech. No ritual. Just, you're one of us now. You've been here long enough. Worked enough. Bled enough. You've made it through winter. Through hunger. Through fear. You don't say anything either. You just nod back. And keep working. Later, you look at the paint again. It's dry now, flaking, but still bright in the sun. You don't wash it off. That night, someone tells a story about a trickster spirit who tried to become human but forgot how feet worked and kept tripping on roots. The kids laugh until they wheeze. You do too, because it's stupid, and because you finally can. You start to feel the change before anyone says it out loud. It's in the way the wind moves, less like a breath and more like a warning. The grass has started to lose its deep green and now fades into pale gold, like the sun is bleaching the world dry one blade at a time. Mornings come colder. Not cold exactly, just sharp. Like the edge of a stone knife dragging softly along your spine while you pretend not to shiver. You wake up to your own breath again, not because you're gasping or dreaming or panicking, just because it's visible, hanging in the air. Little clouds, soft and slow, drifting from your mouth like you're whispering something even when you're silent. Inside the lodge, the others sleep curled against each other, a tangle of limbs, hides, and slow breathing. The fire's burned down to its bones. You nudge it gently with a stick. Add dried grass. Blow, careful and rhythmic, until it flares up again and casts long shadows against the walls. The girl, no, the woman, beside you pulls her robe tighter without waking. Her face is turned toward the wall, soft in the flickering light. You sit with your knees tucked to your chest, and your chin resting on top of them, watching the flame dance and thinking about nothing in particular. Just letting your brain loosen the knots it's tied itself into. You think that maybe this is what peace feels like. Not joy, not safety, just the ability to sit quietly and not expect anything terrible to happen for a few minutes. By noon, the camp is moving, slowly but deliberately. People know what's coming. They always do. You're not rushing yet, but you've started to think in terms of before the cold really comes. Every task now carries an extra layer of purpose. That broken basket you might have ignored in July, it needs mending. The extra water skins, fill them now. Don't wait. You help with the firewood. Not the easy stuff this time. No dry twigs or kindling. Logs. Real fuel. You carry them one by one, slung across your back, legs shaking from the weight by the fifth trip. Someone makes a joke about your pace. You grunt back something unintelligible but vaguely threatening. They laugh. You smirk. Just a little. The air smells different. Earthier. Like the land itself is tired and ready to sleep. You notice more animals moving fast. Not because they're scared. Because they know. Birds gathering, wings tight and loud in the air. Squirrels burying things like they've got gambling debts to settle before the first frost. That night, someone brings out a robe lined with fur. It's beautiful, thick, heavy. You can tell it was stitched over months, probably passed down. It's for the baby, the same one born back in spring. You remember when she didn't even have a name. Now she has a cradle board, a tiny necklace of teeth, and a laugh that cuts through the morning quiet like sunlight. You hold her once, just for a moment. She clutches your finger like it belongs to her. You don't know what to say, so you don't say anything. The woman watches you, her mouth curved but unreadable. You glance at her. She doesn't look away. Later you sit together, shoulder to shoulder, eating from the same bowl. The stew is thick. Root vegetables, shredded meat. It's simple and hot and tastes better than you expected. You don't talk. You just chew. She leans against you. Not dramatically. Just enough to say, I know you're here. The stars come out one by one, slow and deliberate, like they're watching to see who made it through another day. You stare up at them until your neck aches. Then you lie back on the ground, arms behind your head, feeling the earth cooling beneath you. Somewhere nearby, someone sings to their child, not a lullaby, something older, a song about hunger, about snow, about how even when the food is gone, the people remain. You close your eyes and listen, not to sleep, just to remember the sound of a life that's not rushing to end, the warmth of a robe that isn't just yours, the roughness of a scar that finally stopped itching, the stillness of a moment that doesn't ask anything of you. You're not thinking about survival tonight. You're thinking about winter. And for once, you don't flinch. The cold doesn't start with snow. It starts with silence. A different kind of silence, not peaceful, not sacred, just empty. The kind of silence where even the birds stop arguing, where the grass stops rustling, where the air itself feels like it's holding its breath. You step out of the lodge one morning, and everything has changed. The sky is too bright, too blue. That fake, perfect kind of blue that only shows up when the air is thin enough to burn your lungs. Your breath leaves your mouth in long, slow puffs. It rises, curls, and disappears, like smoke, like time, like warmth that used to live in your body and doesn't anymore. You pull your robe tighter. It doesn't help. The wind finds every crack in your layers. It slides down your back like a wet leaf and settles in your bones like it plans to stay for dinner. Around you, the camp moves slowly. There's no rushing in weather like this. No one sprints. No one yells. Everyone just endures. You help cut meat today. It's frozen. So are your fingers. The knife slips once, and you watch a thin line of blood appear on your hand, like it's not even yours. You feel nothing. The cold takes even that away. You suck the wound clean, wrap it in a scrap of hide, keep cutting. No one asks if you're okay. Everyone's got their own cuts. The woman is quieter these days, not cold, just inward. You get it. Winter does that. It presses everyone deeper into themselves, like a hand pushing down on your chest, reminding you how small you are. You don't ask what she's thinking. She doesn't ask you either. You share warmth. That's enough. Nights come fast now. The sky barely has time to stretch before it's swallowed by darkness. You sit near the fire, hands spread wide, feeling your skin come back to life in painful pulses. Your face stings. Your feet ache. Your nose has stopped trying altogether. Someone passes you a bowl of broth. You drink it slowly. It tastes like wood smoke and fat and relief. Someone else sings, a low, steady melody. Not pretty, but steady. The kind of song you hum while stitching a wound. You sleep in layers now, not just clothes, people. Everyone pressed together like stones trying to remember how to be warm. There's no shame in it, just survival. You breathe shallowly so you don't fog up the space in front of your face. Sometimes, in the dark, someone whispers a name. Not yours, not anyone in the lodge. A name that hasn't been spoken since last winter. That happens more often now. You don't ask. The first snow comes during the night. You wake to a world muffled in white. The camp looks like it's been erased. Soft mounds of blank silence cover everything. The fire pit, the bundles of wood, the footprints. You don't say anything. You just stand there, watching your breath leave your mouth in slow waves, and realize how much weight cold really carries. That day, no one leaves camp unless they have to. You help tie extra hides over the door. You check the food stores. You add stones to the fire ring to keep the heat longer. You do what you can. Everyone does. And when the light starts to fade again, early, as it always does, you gather around the flames, closer, quieter. Someone tells a story about a man who once tried to walk alone through a storm to find his family. He didn't make it. But the family survived because of what he carried back, even if he didn't. No one speaks when it ends. Someone adds more wood to the fire. The flames crackle like bones settling. You lean against the woman. Her hand wraps around yours. You don't speak either. There's nothing left to say. Just warmth to share and sleep to wait for. You stop feeling your toes around mid-morning. It's not sudden. It happens like everything else out here, quietly, without asking. First they tingle, then they ache, then they vanish, swallowed by the boots you wrapped so carefully the night before, with hide that's seen better winters, and stuffing that smells faintly of wet dog and regret. You don't complain. No one does. Complaining doesn't warm anything. It just makes the air colder. The sun's out, but it's only pretending to help. It hovers above the horizon like it's thinking about doing something useful, then gives up by early afternoon. You move through camp like smoke, slow, thin, quiet, carrying a bundle of firewood that's heavier than it should be. Your back hurts. not in a dramatic, story-worthy way. Just the dull, constant kind of pain that makes you rethink every decision that led to this moment, including being born. The woman notices. She doesn't say anything, but she tightens your coat ties when she walks past. You don't thank her. You just breathe a little easier. That night, everyone sits closer than usual. There's less food now. That's expected. You can feel the shift in your gut, a constant low hum of hunger that never really goes away. It's like your stomach is whispering a sad song in a language only your bones understand. You ration everything: meat, fat, even stories. No one wastes words when it's cold. They stretch them out. Let them sit, like warmth, like memory. The elder speaks of a time when the snow came so high it swallowed the teepees, and people dug tunnels between them with antlers and bowls. You're not sure if it's true. You don't care. It's real in the way all important stories are. It holds the silence at bay. The fire flickers. Sparks rise. Your breath makes ghosts above your lips. You shift closer to the woman. She's sewing something by firelight, her hands cracked and red from days of handling frozen hide. You watch the needle move in and out, like it's the only thing keeping time alive. You offer to help. She raises an eyebrow, amused. You still don't know how to stitch without making it look like an angry porcupine tried to commit art, but you try anyway. She corrects your grip without speaking. Her hands guide yours. You sit like that for a long time, not working, just sharing breath. That night, the wind moans. Not whistles, not howls, moans. Like the land is mourning something it can't explain. You wake up twice from dreams that leave no trace. The third time, you don't go back to sleep. You sit by the fire with your knees pulled to your chest, watching embers rise like tiny stars. Your nose is numb. Your lips are cracked, but your heart is steady. You think about the ones who didn't make it to this winter, names no longer spoken during the day, only at night, only in whispers, when it's safe. You think of the old man who told stories about fox spirits, the girl who used to laugh with her whole face, the brother you never had, but almost did. You think of them like stars that blinked out just before you had the words to say goodbye. By dawn, your legs are stiff and your throat is dry. You drink warm broth. You chew dried root. You wrap your arms around your chest and remind your body to keep going. Because out here, no one survives winter alone. The days blur together now. They don't pass so much as drift. Like smoke, like breath in the cold. You can't tell if it's been 3 days or 30 since you last saw bare ground. Every surface is white or frozen, or buried under so many layers of snow and wind and silence that it might not exist anymore. Your body has adjusted, sort of. You sleep longer. You move slower. You eat less, not because you want to, but because your stomach has learned how to expect disappointment. Some days you forget what warm feels like. Not the word, the feeling. The actual sensation of blood moving freely through your hands, of bending your fingers without cracking the skin open like dried bark. You chew on a piece of dried root to keep your jaw moving. It's bitter. Your tongue doesn't mind. Bitter means real. Bitter means something is still alive in your mouth. The woman coughs more now. Not badly, not all the time. But you hear it in her ribs. It's the kind of cough that comes from sleeping too long against cold ground and breathing too much smoke from a fire that refuses to burn clean. You tuck an extra hide around her when she's not looking. She notices, says nothing, but her fingers brush your wrist as she rolls over, and that's enough. One day, someone starts laughing in the middle of the camp. Not the kind of laugh that invites company, the kind that keeps people away. You peek out of the lodge and see a young man, maybe your age, maybe older, bare-chested, standing in the snow, yelling at the sky like it insulted his ancestors. No one stops him at first. He walks barefoot in circles, ranting about buffalo spirits and burning teeth and the warmth of stars. His breath fogs the air like a smoke signal from a dream. Eventually, two elders step forward. They guide him inside, wrap him in furs, hold him, feed him broth he doesn't seem to notice. They say nothing to the rest of you, but you all understand. The mind grows thin in the cold, like hide stretched too tight, like rope left out in the frost, waiting for one hard pull to snap. You check your own thoughts more often now. You watch your dreams for signs. You hum to yourself in the mornings, just to hear your own voice and remember what it sounds like. Inside the lodge, there's a hole in the hide roof where the smoke escapes. It used to be just a detail. Now, it's a universe. You stare through it like it might show you something. The shape of time, the end of the cold, a face you miss but can't quite remember. One evening, a ceremony is held. You didn't know it was coming, but suddenly, everyone is quiet. The fire is stoked high. Bundles are unwrapped. Objects you've never seen before are placed in a circle. Feathers, stones, carved bones, a bowl of snow that someone whispers into before setting it down. It's not a celebration. It's a reminder, a way to mark the halfway point. If you've made it this far, you might make it to the thaw. Everyone takes turns saying something, not stories, not speeches, just things. One word, one sentence, one memory. When it's your turn, you say, "I can still feel my toes today." It gets a small laugh. You sit down before you remember to feel embarrassed. The woman says nothing, but she squeezes your hand harder than usual. After the fire dies down and the offerings are left to smolder, you lie in your place with your back to the world and your face toward the wall, wondering what it's like in places that never freeze, wondering what people there complain about, wondering how soft their hands are, wondering if you'd trade places, even for a day. You think about it. You fall asleep before you get an answer. The first thaw doesn't look like much. It starts with a drip. That's all. A single, fat drop of water falling from the tip of a lodgepole and landing on the back of your neck, just as you're trying to sleep a little longer. You jolt upright, heart pounding like you've been stabbed by the ghost of winter's pettiness. Everyone else is still asleep. You wipe the wet spot and look up. The hide above you is darkened around the edges, damp, leaking, softening in places that were bone dry for weeks. You crawl outside. The sky is gray, but not the frozen, cruel gray that makes your joints ache before you step into the wind. This gray is softer, lighter. It has weight, but it's melting. Literally. Snow still covers the camp, but now it sags in places. The edges crumble. The sharp corners of ice lose their shape. Footprints stay visible a little longer. Water pools near the fire pit. The air smells different, like wet ash, like thawing leather, like something trying to be alive again. You stand there barefoot for a moment too long before someone throws a robe over your shoulders. It's the woman. She doesn't say anything, just shakes her head at you like you're an idiot, which, to be fair, you are, and goes back inside. You don't follow right away. You just stare out at the white and brown horizon, letting your toes sting in the slush and your breath float up in smaller and smaller clouds. Because even if it's not warmth, it's something close. That day, you hear birds again. Not many, but one. Sharp and high and brief. Like it's not quite convinced it should be here yet. Like it's asking, "Is it safe?" before fully committing. You don't answer. You're not sure either. The food situation is tight. Not dire, but shrinking. The fat is nearly gone. The last of the root vegetables have gone soft. There's still dried meat, but it tastes like despair dipped in dust. Still, people eat. Because eating means staying, and staying means maybe seeing spring. You go with a small group to check the trap line. It hasn't yielded much in weeks. Today's different. Today, you find tracks. Rabbit. Maybe fox. Something small, four-legged, and foolish enough to be awake. It's not much, but it's movement. And movement is hope. You set a few new snares. Walk carefully. Scan the sky for signs. The sun even peeks out once, just for a second, like it's winking at you before diving back behind the clouds. When you return to camp, someone's chopped more wood than usual. Not because it's needed, but because it's possible. That night, spirits lift. Barely. There's still silence, still caution, still the ghosts of frost lingering in every corner. But people breathe deeper. Someone starts sharpening a spear again. Someone else rehangs the drying lines, even though they're still frozen stiff. You sit by the fire, listening to the crackling, watching your fingers flex without bleeding. The woman leans her head on your shoulder. You lean back. You don't say anything. But for the first time in weeks, your silence feels like peace again, not fear. You sleep with one less layer that night. Just one. You still wake up cold, but not frozen, which, out here, feels like luxury. Spring doesn't arrive like a celebration. It arrives like a mess. There's no parade, no music, no blooming field of flowers. Just mud. More mud than you knew the world could hold. It clings to your feet, your leggings, your tools. It pulls the soles of your boots like it's trying to reclaim you. And it smells sour, sweet, thick with rot and thaw, and the scent of everything that's been asleep for too long. You wake to the sound of slush dripping off the lodge roof in steady beats, like a lazy drum reminding you that nature keeps its own time, and you're not in charge of any of it. Outside, the world is ugly. Beautiful, maybe, in a few weeks, but not now. Now it's brown. Everything is brown. The snow is gone, but not cleanly. It didn't melt. It gave up. Melted snow is never pure. It leaves behind dead grass, moldy hides, bones from meals you forgot you buried, and the things people dropped all winter and didn't have the energy to retrieve. But still, it's a beginning. The animals return slowly. First the birds, confident little liars, darting around like they were never gone. Then rodents, then bigger things. You hear a coyote howl one night, and instead of dread, you feel a strange sort of comfort, like the world is reassembling itself. You're not warm yet, not truly, but you're less frozen. You stop waking up stiff. You can flex your fingers without pain. You laugh again, quietly, but without thinking. The traps catch more now. One day, you bring back 2 rabbits. People cheer, not loudly, not like a feast, but they smile. That's new. The days are longer. You forget how much light you lost until it starts returning. You find yourself standing outside at dusk, watching the sky turn from gold to purple, and realizing you don't need the fire yet. You're just standing there, bareheaded, not miserable. The woman braids your hair for the first time in weeks, not because it's a ceremony, because it's finally not too cold to sit still for that long. Her hands are gentle, familiar. She doesn't speak, but when she finishes, she taps your shoulder softly, a wordless way of saying, "Still alive." The lodge is taken apart, aired out, repaired. The smoke hole is widened. The door flap gets cleaned. Things that have been stiff all winter finally stretch: hides, ropes, muscles, spirits. You help with everything. No one tells you to. You just do. There's no moment where someone announces that winter's over, but you feel it. You feel it in the way children start to argue again, in the way the elders stop sitting quite so close to the fire, in the way your stomach rumbles with hunger that feels like appetite, not desperation. One morning, someone sets out to scout the plains. Bison may return soon, and with them, the rhythm of the hunt. You're invited to go. You say yes without hesitating. You wrap your gear carefully, check your knife twice, and sling your pack over your shoulder with the kind of strength that only comes from surviving something that tried very hard to kill you. As you walk out beyond the old winter perimeter, your boots sink into the mud and pull free with a loud slurp. You smile, because this is what survival looks like. Ugly, wet, messy, but alive. It starts with droppings. That's how you know they're back. Not a stampede, not a cloud of dust, not some cinematic moment with horns glinting in the sun and thousands of hooves shaking the ground like thunder. Number just a small, wet pile of evidence on a trail near a salt lick. Fresh, still steaming, which, on the plains, is as good as a signed invitation. You crouch beside it, nose wrinkling, eyes sharp, and glance up at the others. One nods. Another grins. It's happening. Bison are near. And suddenly, the world feels different. The wind picks up, cooler now, moving across open grass that smells like hope and danger in equal measure. Your legs tighten under you, like they remember how to run. Your stomach growls with something that isn't just hunger. It's readiness. You've made it through winter, which means you're strong enough to follow again. The scouts move ahead, quiet and quick. You follow at a distance, not because you're new, but because this is how it works. One behind the other, spaced out, each footstep carefully chosen, each sound deliberate or better, absent. You pass bent grass, rubbed trees, deep, wide tracks that sink into the mud like shallow craters, a place where the ground has been scraped bare by hooves and massive shoulders. A wallow. You press your hand into the soil there, still warm. It's a strange thing, touching the place where an animal larger than any you've ever killed rolled around like a house cat trying to scratch its own back. You feel the imprint with your fingertips and know they are very, very close. You return to camp with the news. And just like that, everything sharpens. The mood shifts. People walk faster. Tools are checked. Spears rewrapped. Arrows inspected. Not rushed. Just ready. There's a kind of electricity in the air, not loud, not bright, just a hum, like the land is holding its breath again, but this time in anticipation. You help move gear. You test the travois frames. You oil the blades. You're not told what to do. You just do it. Because no one wants to be the reason a hunt fails. That night, no one sings. No one jokes. But no one is sad either. It's a quiet night. The kind of quiet that settles around people who've done this before, who know what's coming, who've seen the cost and the reward and still show up anyway. You sit by the fire, turning a spear point in your hands. It's smooth and deadly and slightly crooked from the heat of last summer. You don't fix it. You just feel its weight, like a question. The woman sits beside you, sewing again. Not clothing this time. A pouch. She doesn't say what it's for, but you know, everyone has something they carry into the hunt. A charm, a feather, a story. Or, in your case, a piece of someone else's winter, stitched together by hands that know how to survive. When you sleep, you dream of hooves. Not running, not trampling, just moving. Endless. Heavy. Rhythmic. A song made by earth and bone and time. You wake up sweating. The hunt hasn't even started. And already, it owns you. You wake before the sun. Not because someone shakes you. Because your body knows. There's a tension in the air so thick you could skin it and hang it to dry. The fire is already lit. Low, steady, quiet. Like it knows it's not the main character today. Just part of the background. One warm breath in a world holding still. You sit up slow. Pull your clothes on slower, every piece layered with care. Nothing flashy. Just leather, sinew, hide. You tie your moccasins tight, not just because of the walk, but because today, if they come off, you die. You step outside. The grass is still wet with dew, or maybe it's blood from some old dream. Either way, it soaks your ankles and doesn't ask permission. The sky's beginning to lighten, but only just. That pale indigo moment right before the world decides what kind of day it's going to be. Other figures move in the half-light, quiet, focused, eyes forward. You join them. You don't speak. No one does. Words are too heavy now, too clumsy. You need every ounce of energy for your hands, your legs, your breath. The trail out is long, not in distance, in time. You walk for hours, but it feels like days. Every step is careful, every breath measured. Someone ahead raises a hand. Everyone stops. You kneel. You wait. You listen. Wind, insects, the flap of a distant bird, the earth murmuring under your knees. Then, there, just on the edge of hearing, a low grunt, not close, but not far. You look up, and the scout is already moving. The herd is near. You move faster now, but not loud. This part is sacred, not with incense or prayers or feathered chants. Sacred like fire, like death, like the first time you realized how easily a body breaks. You come over a ridge, and there they are, the bison, huge, silent, grazing in a wide bowl of sunlit grass, steam rising from their backs like prayers. They don't see you yet. They don't smell you. They're just existing. And somehow that's worse, because it makes them look innocent, like something ancient and harmless, but they're not. You know what happens if you slip, if you miss, if the stampede turns toward you instead of away. You've seen broken ribs, trampled lungs, bodies not buried because they couldn't be found. Still, you don't flinch. You grip your spear tighter. Someone whispers the signal. And then, everything begins. You move, fast, quiet, wide around the herd. You've done this before. Not often, but enough to remember the dance. The runners go first, younger, quicker, unarmed. Their job isn't to kill, it's to steer. They shout, wave hides, throw stones. Not to injure, just to startle. The bison shift. Heads rise, eyes widen, muscle tenses. You feel it before they move. Then they do. It's not running, it's thunder, controlled chaos. The ground shakes like it's remembering something old and violent. You sprint, down the ridge, toward the stampede. Not away. This is the moment where you'd die, if you were anyone else. This is where the you in the title wouldn't last a day. But you don't freeze. You don't trip. You run, spear out. Mind blank, eyes locked. The bison veer. One breaks from the pack. That's yours. You know it. You close the distance like you've been waiting for this since your first breath. And when you throw, it's not clean. But it's enough. The spear sinks just behind the shoulder. The bison stumbles, falls. The herd thunders past. And then, silence. Not real silence. Your heart is pounding like a war drum. You're panting. Your legs are jelly. Your hands are shaking so hard you drop the next spear before you can lift it. But the kind of silence where time pauses, where death just passed you by and nodded. You walk over to the animal. It's not quite gone. You kneel. You finish it. Quick, respectful. You place your hand on its forehead, not for tradition, for thanks, because you're not starving anymore, because this will feed many, because you're still breathing. You look around, others are doing the same. No one cheers. That comes later. For now, just work, just blood, just warmth rising from fur while the sun finally breaks through the clouds. You don't cry. Not because you're brave, because you're tired and busy. The bison is huge, bigger up close than your memory could hold. You'd think it would get smaller now that it's dead. But no, now it's heavier, realer. Like the moment it stopped breathing, it handed you all its weight. You don't waste time. The sun's climbing. Flies already know. You've seen what happens when a carcass is left too long. The meat sours. The hair goes slick. Everything starts to smell like regret and rot. So you work fast, not frantic, just efficient. Someone hands you a blade. You cut hide. Thick, heavy, muscled hide that fights back like it has opinions. It takes strength to pull, to hold, to slice without slipping. Blood covers your hands by the second cut. It gets under your nails, into your sleeves, behind your ears. It smells warm and bitter, not disgusting. Just dense, like iron and old sweat. The woman is beside you. You didn't see her arrive. She's already elbow deep in the flank, her braids tied up, sleeves rolled. She's faster than you. You're not offended. She's been doing this longer. You watch her movements, how she uses her shoulder, not just her hands, how she cuts at angles that make no sense until they do. You copy her. She doesn't comment, but she doesn't correct you either. That's praise out here. You cut tendons, separate muscle, roll slabs of meat onto hides. Someone else takes the organ work. You're grateful. That part still makes your stomach twist. Your knees ache. Your back cracks when you shift. You haven't eaten since dawn, and now the smell of blood is starting to make you crave fat. Not sugar, not meat. Fat. You want marrow, tallow. You want the stuff that'll stick to your ribs and stay through the next storm. Eventually, someone says the word. Enough. It's not everything, but it's what you can carry. The rest? Left behind. Bones, skin, some guts. Not wasted. The scavengers will take it. Wolves, ravens, beetles, all part of the same cycle. You load the travois. It sags under the weight. You tie knots with hands that barely respond. Your arms are shaking. You wipe your face and leave a smear of red across your cheek that you won't notice until much later. And then, you walk. Back to camp. The way home feels longer. Because it is. You're hauling something sacred, not just meat, not just survival, but proof. Proof that winter didn't kill you. Proof that your hands can still build something out of death. The people see you coming. They don't rush to meet you. They wait, still, silent. Then someone lets out a single whoop, and then they move. Like water. The kids are dancing. The dogs are barking. The elders are already laying out stones for the smoking racks. You drop the travois beside the fire pit and sit hard, like a tree falling. Your legs buzz, your arms burn, your chest hurts. You smile anyway, because tonight there will be stew. Not broth, not dried scraps. Real stew. With chunks, with marrow, with fat. The woman sits beside you. You're both filthy. You smell like blood, smoke, leather, and sweat. You feel like a corpse that's still upright. She hands you a strip of something raw. You chew. You don't ask what it is. It's perfect. You sit like that for a long time, saying nothing. Because you don't have to say it. You were there. You did it. You lived.